There are moments in every public figure's life that resonate far beyond palace walls. In early 2024, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped into one of those moments. Not with royal fanfare, but with quiet vulnerability and the weight of a truth that touched millions. In a simple yet powerful video released by Kensington Palace, Catherine looked directly into the camera. Not as a princess, but as a wife, a mother, a woman facing a daunting diagnosis. She revealed that she was undergoing treatment for cancer, describing the discovery as a huge shock to her family. Her voice was calm, but her message carried raw emotion. She didn't disclose the specific type of cancer. Perhaps because, in that moment, the details mattered less than the courage it took to speak at all. Catherine shared that she was in the early stages of preventive chemotherapy. Her words weren't cloaked in formality. They were human, full of sincerity, and aimed not at headlines but hearts. She wanted to quell the swirling speculation, but more than that, she wanted to thank those who had stood by her silently, offering prayers, hope, and grace. Above all, she asked for time for her family, especially for her 3 young children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, to absorb the news without the glare of the public eye. In that request, we saw a mother fiercely protective of her children's innocence. In her silence, strength. For months afterward, Catherine withdrew from public life. Her absence wasn't one of retreat, but of restoration. Behind closed doors, she focused on healing, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Kensington Palace made it clear her official duties could wait. Her well-being could not. When she finally did reemerge, it was with the kind of grace that left a lump in the throat of every person watching. The occasion was the Trooping the Color ceremony in June 2024. As the royal family gathered on the iconic balcony of Buckingham Palace, there she was, smiling, waving, radiant, not as a symbol but as a survivor. For the first time in months, the world saw Catherine again, and for many, it felt like witnessing spring after a long winter. Observers didn't miss the subtle message behind that appearance. It wasn't a return to business as usual. It was a measured, intentional step forward. A way of saying, I'm still here, I'm still healing, and I still care. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came nearly a year later, far from London's grandeur, at Colchester Hospital in Essex, on June 2, 2025. There, amidst the quiet hum of hospital life, Catherine walked through a restorative garden designed especially for cancer patients. It wasn't just a symbolic visit. She sat with patients. She spoke with nurses and oncologists. She listened not as a dignitary, but as someone who understood, truly understood. In one powerful conversation, she opened up about life after cancer treatment, the strange in-between that so many survivors know too well. The hardest part, she admitted, isn't always during the treatment. It's what comes after. That honest reflection struck a chord. Recovery, she reminded us, isn't a neat finish line. It's a slow, uncertain re-entry into normalcy, a concept that often feels foreign once you've faced your own mortality. Her words weren't just comforting. They were liberating. For countless people quietly grappling with the aftershocks of illness, Catherine gave them language for what they were feeling. She reminded the world that healing isn't just physical. It's emotional, it's ongoing, and it deserves as much support as the treatment itself. Even before her own diagnosis, Catherine had long championed causes rooted in care, maternal health, mental well-being, early childhood development. But now, her advocacy had taken on a new dimension. It wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal. At Colchester, she made a point to highlight the importance of psychological support, especially after medical interventions end. Her message was clear. Cancer recovery doesn't stop when the medication does. The mind needs tending, too. And in saying so, she did more than raise awareness. She broke down stigma. She made it okay to not bounce back. She made it brave to admit you're still finding your footing. Through it all, one constant remained: family. Kensington Palace often reminded the public that Catherine's recovery was centered around her children and Prince William. Their bond, always strong, seemed to deepen in this season of vulnerability. William balanced royal responsibilities with private devotion, making space for his wife to heal while shielding their children from unnecessary strain. Their approach was quiet, dignified, intentional. Appearances like trooping the color and the hospital visit were not just ceremonial. They were carefully chosen moments, coordinated with Catherine's medical team. Every outing was a sign of resilience, not obligation. And as Catherine continues to navigate this deeply personal path, she does so with a renewed sense of balance. The pressures of her royal role haven't vanished. But now, more than ever, there's room for grace, for rest, for saying not yet when needed. Kensington Palace has made it clear. There is no rigid timeline for her full return to public duties. The plan is to proceed gradually, aligning with medical guidance and Catherine's own pace. It's a modern, compassionate approach, one that reflects an evolving understanding of health, work, and humanity. Her openness, her honesty, her refusal to pretend everything is fine when it's not. These are not just personal choices. They are public gifts. They offer permission for others to be gentle with themselves, to honor their own journeys without shame. And in return, the public has responded with a groundswell of empathy. Since her announcement, support has poured in from all corners of the globe. Letters, flowers, well wishes, testaments to how deeply people care for this woman who, despite her title, continues to show us what it means to live with courage and heart. The media, too, has largely followed suit, offering coverage that balances curiosity with compassion. Privacy has been respected, boundaries have been observed, and for a family constantly under scrutiny, that grace has made a difference. Because beneath the crowns and ceremonies, the heart of the story is simple. A woman facing cancer, choosing hope, choosing honesty, choosing to walk this road not in hiding, but in the light that as the weeks passed, the image of Catherine waving from the palace balcony lingered in the public's memory, not just as a royal moment, but as a signal of quiet strength. Her smile, framed by the cheers of the crowd and the Union Jack fluttering above, spoke volumes. It wasn't defiance. It was grace in motion. Behind that calm exterior, Catherine was still learning to navigate the emotional terrain of post-treatment life, and she didn't shy away from sharing the truth. Healing was messy, non-linear, and at times, lonely. But by voicing what so many silently endure, she created space for deeper understanding. In one conversation with hospital staff, she described it perfectly, how the end of chemotherapy doesn't always bring immediate relief. It's like emerging from a storm, she said. You expect sunlight, but sometimes it's still gray. And that's okay. Her words carried the weight of lived experience. And that resonance, authentic, unfiltered, echoed far beyond the hospital walls. What Catherine is offering the world right now isn't just inspiration. It's education. Through her story, people are learning what recovery really looks like, not the polished version, but the human one. She's showing that it's not weakness to slow down, to ask for help, or to say, I'm not ready yet. In a culture often obsessed with bouncing back, Catherine is modeling something far more powerful, the courage to honor the pace of healing. It's a quiet rebellion against the notion that strength means silence. Her example is helping to shift expectations not just for royals but for anyone walking through illness, grief, or loss. Her public appearances remain limited, but they are profoundly intentional. Each outing, each speech is infused with purpose. She's not just resuming her duties, she's reshaping them. Her advocacy is now laced with personal insight, and her platform has become a vessel for compassion. At Colchester Hospital, she lingered in conversations, not because cameras were watching, but because she genuinely wanted to understand. When a patient shared their fear of recurrence, Catherine didn't brush it aside. She nodded, listened, related. In that moment, she wasn't just a princess. She was a peer. That connection, human to human, is what makes her voice so powerful. And it doesn't end at cancer. Her long-standing work in mental health continues to evolve. She's drawing connections between physical illness and emotional wellness, reminding the public that one cannot truly heal without the other. The two are intertwined, inseparable, in fact. This integrative view of health is part of what sets Catherine apart in her role. She isn't merely attending ribbon-cutting ceremonies. She's engaging deeply with the issues that shape lives. Whether it's early childhood trauma or the psychological toll of illness, she approaches each topic with empathy and informed curiosity. Her recovery has brought new urgency to these efforts, and she's not doing it alone. Prince William has stood steadfastly by her side, his own schedule carefully adjusted to ensure he can be present for his family. The couple's bond, long admired, has become even more apparent during this chapter. Their unity isn't performative. It's rooted in shared values and mutual respect. At a time when the royal institution continues to evolve, the Prince and Princess of Wales offer a vision of leadership grounded in empathy. Their choices, stepping back when needed, being present for their children, and speaking openly about hardship, reflect a model of modern monarchy that is not only relatable but deeply human. And it's not just the UK that's watching. From the US to Australia, from Canada to New Zealand, Catherine's story has sparked global conversation. Cancer survivors across the world have written about feeling seen. Parents have thanked her for prioritizing her children, and advocates have applauded her for bringing visibility to the often ignored emotional toll of recovery. This wave of solidarity is powerful not because of her title, but because of her truth. Media outlets, too, have largely taken a respectful approach. Rather than chasing speculation, many have focused on the confirmed updates and the broader implications of her message. In an era of sensationalism, that restraint is both rare and commendable. And while the palace remains selective about updates, what has been shared paints a picture of progress, one step at a time. Catherine's health remains the priority, and every public appearance is considered with care. There's no pressure to perform, only permission to heal. That philosophy, though quietly communicated, is revolutionary in its own right. It tells others facing illness, you are not defined by productivity. You are not obligated to pretend. And you are worthy of compassion, no matter where you are in the process. As 2025 continues, many wonder when Catherine will resume a full schedule. The truth is that's still uncertain. But perhaps the better question is, what does full even mean anymore? If she returns to fewer engagements, but each one is purposeful and impactful, does that not carry more weight than quantity? If her experience enriches her advocacy, does it not deepen the value of her role? What we are witnessing is not a comeback in the traditional sense. It's a transformation. Catherine is not returning to who she was. She is becoming someone new, someone shaped by hardship, refined by adversity, and made more compassionate by her own vulnerability. She remains a pillar of the royal family, yes, but she is also becoming something even more resonant, a symbol of how to carry pain with grace, how to speak without shame, how to lead without pretending to be invincible. For every woman who's faced illness while caring for her children, for every man who stood quietly beside a partner in pain, for every person who's felt lost in the aftermath of treatment, Catherine's journey offers not answers, but solidarity. And that, perhaps, is her greatest gift. She is redefining strength not as stoicism but as honesty, not as perfection but as persistence. And in doing so, she reminds us all that healing is not weakness. It is, in fact, the greatest show of courage. As Catherine walks this uncertain road, sometimes in public, sometimes in private, the world walks with her, not out of obligation but out of admiration. Because through it all, she has remained exactly who she is, a woman of grace, a mother of three, a royal with a real heart, and above all, a human being whose story reminds us that even in our most vulnerable moments, we can still rise, with dignity, with empathy, and with hope.